Well, good morning, everybody. Yes, indeed, it is Thursday, and it is time for another edition of Elevating You. For all of you out there that have been joining Mike Mooney and me over the last, 6 weeks or
Yes.
so, we've started this to help you reach your peak. It's casual conversation about career and other things, and we've had a lot of fun, a lot of questions, which I'll get to here in just a second, our kind of question of the week, which we'll throw out. But today's a little bit different. It's not just Mike and I. We've actually elevated this program. We've brought some class to this program today.
Finally.
So I'm glad everybody is joining us right now on Facebook Live, and I know that it's been shared to our public pages, our personal pages as well. So I want to make a couple of introductions. I have some breaking news that I wanted to share with everybody, and that is actually that I've decided that it's time to truly elevate Kann Advisory Group. And with that, I have to bring on the right people. I have to bring on the really smart people, the people that have incredible talent and can make the whole organization better as we try to do things for other companies as well. And so if you look in the little boxes next to me, you'll see these two people right here. Now, Mike Mooney has been around for a while, okay? He was on my podcast, and he's now basically the partner and the man behind Elevating You with me. Mooney Consulting is his company, and he's going to be a part of the Kann Advisory Group, helping with brand strategy as one of the top presenters that will be alongside me. And the other one, we go way back to our college days, but I'm telling you, rock star status. Jill Bauer, Just Jill Creative is her brand, and she is going to be helping Kann Advisory Group on presenting sales strategy. Why would that be? I wonder why that would be. Well, first off, let me just say hello to both of you. Good morning. I'm going to go ladies first, okay?
Great.
So this all happened yesterday. We had the press release and announced that you were going to join the team and help me and all of that, Jill. So why don't you give people your thoughts and also a little bit of your background?
Well, first of all, just completely thrilled and excited to be working with you and Mike and Greg. When I left QVC last year, there were certain things that I had in my head of what I would like to pursue. And one of those was always, connecting with businesses and working with people to share my experiences and what I've learned in business and branding and sales and marketing and be a teacher of sorts. My mom was a teacher, so maybe I come by that naturally. I don't know, but that was my hope. So in connecting with you and staying in touch with you over the years, for those of you who don't know, Kraig and I went to the University of Missouri, and in our early days as students, we co-hosted the noon news report for the NPR affiliate. It was the midday report with Jill Bauer, and I'm Kraig Cann. So anyway, I was excited, Kraig, because I've loved watching your career and how you've evolved and how you've built this Kann Advisory Group and what you're doing. And for you to bring me in is just a thrill. So I'm so excited to be here.
What are you talking about? I mean, you were on the Today Show yesterday, so I got nothing.
That's a dream of every journalism school student, right? Back when you're young and in your 20s, never in a million years did I think that was going to be my path. At 50, when I decided to, have this second act. So my background, real quickly, is I started out in news. I was a news reporter. Originally had interest in sports, but kind of pivoted to news and was a crime beat reporter. I was the one in Lafayette, Indiana, going on drug busts and covering trials, and I loved that. I'm a little bit of like a Dateline person. I love those stories. And then this opportunity came along to try something completely different, and that was to be a host on QVC. So when I was hired in 1993, oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. I was the youngest host they had ever hired, and was 25 and had really not a ton of life experience, but had a passion for connecting with people and talking about shopping. Okay. So I thought that would be fun for a few years, and a few years turned into my career, 25 years. I was a host on QVC. I loved every minute of it. I made great friends. I learned so much about business, even though I'd never taken a business class. It was the best business education I could have ever had in terms of sales and connecting and how businesses have to pivot and evolve with technology and all of those things. And then 25 years sort of came to an end for me in thinking about what else there might be out there for me. And so that's where I am now. Jill 2.0. I started Just Jill Creative. It was an idea that I had previously, but it was really all about home and lifestyle, which has always been a passion. The opportunity for the Today Show came along. I went and met with a producer, and they liked me and liked what I did. So that's kind of evolved. And then my third silo is Kann Advisory. So I feel like I've got this trifecta going right now, and I couldn't be more excited.
Well, two things stand out for me. First and foremost, the Today Show is beyond cool. I co-anchored with Hoda Kotb in Fort Myers years ago. Yeah. We know where her career has gone, and I'm sitting here doing live streams and speaking engagements. And I think Hoda's doing really well for herself. That's what comes out. The other thing is, you go, when I turned 50. Okay, so you said that we went to Mizzou together. You really didn't have to go there because you officially just dated us on what years we went there. So that's the other thing that stood out to me right there. But man, I'm thrilled. And I will tell everybody right there, I'll share some stuff here in a little bit, which we'll talk about how we're going to collaborate and what really the mission is. And, kind of the why behind the what, right? The what was the press release yesterday that went out and the news that you two would be joining me and my other partner, Greg Elkin, who's an amazing strategic communications guy with years in professional sports, to help companies and organizations. But what are we going to do? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit. So I'm just thrilled to have you. And I can tell you this, am I allowed to say how many dollars, close to how many dollars you sold on QVC? Can we say that number?
Sure.
I think.
Go ahead, Mike. You want to try to guess?
Well, I think if you were to say reportedly, reportedly.
Yes, right? Yes. Okay, over 25 years. If I remember the conversation right, because I was driving on the 408, which is a highway here in Orlando, I almost had to pull over. $4 billion in sales. That's with a B, not an M. That's $4 billion. So Jill knows what she's talking about. Great with presentation, great with sales, love the personality, connects with people. I'm just thrilled. All right, Mike, it's your turn. Now, I assume that everybody knows that you and I have been doing this a little bit, but I want you to kind of give the why in the world would I join forces with Kraig to do this and Jill to help people. So the floor is yours, buddy.
Man, well, I'll just say, first off, I'm humbled to be in the shadows here with some amazing people, and not quite sure how to follow Jill on that. But what it's not. It's not. But I'd say this, and I mean this sincerely, that as Jill was speaking and you two were talking, this was one of those moments where I kind of sat back and I had that this is why I made my pivot. This is what, you have those moments where it's sort of this, it clicks, man, okay, this is why. And the momentum that we're building, Kraig, that we were talking about from a couple of years ago when we were talking, and I had spent 25 years in the motorsports business, in NASCAR and IndyCar and Formula One. And it was all around brand strategy and reputation and crisis management. And similar to Jill, I had an internal fire and this sort of tugging of wanting to take that experience of working with some world-class brands like Mercedes and Tylenol, Walmart, Nextel, Sprint, other big brands. And what can I do to take that to people, to help lift them up, empower them, drive them forward, specifically in this area of reputation. Kraig, you and I have talked about this many times of, that question of how much is our reputation worth? And really thinking about that in today's world when, our reputations have never been more valuable, yet fragile and vulnerable because of the hyper-connectivity that we have in this world. And we often think of reputation management as a what now instead of the what if. And if we're thinking about that as our own brands, we have to be intentional. We have to be proactive. So that's really been my passion of taking that message out from my years of work in the high performance world of motorsports and working with some amazing teams and people to shed light on that, ignite some spirit around the idea of how can our reputations blow open doors of opportunity for us that we didn't even know were there. But because of the reputation we've built, the brand that we've built, how we present ourselves and interact and the choices we make, that it's limitless. What we can do in this world is absolutely limitless. So That's what I'm enjoying doing with you, Kraig, and Jill now on this program and in the workshops. But I do that in my own keynotes and my personal and executive coaching programs that I do as well. So again, just thrilled to be here with you all, and can't wait to see what we're going to do.
That's really cool. I posted something on LinkedIn earlier this morning, and there's a friend of mine on there. He's known as the LinkedIn guy, believe it or not. And
there's a guy.
Is amazing. No, I'm serious. Like, LinkedIn knows who he is. They pay attention to him. His name's Greg Burkhalter. But anyway, I posted this thing this morning on LinkedIn about personal brand, professional brand, and the importance of it today, which is right up Mike's alley. And I talk about it in my workshops, which hopefully we're going to all get to do together, which we'll talk about later. But like a lot of people, when I'll ask them, how many of you believe you have a brand? And not many people, this is the beginning of the day of the workshop, they don't raise their hand because they're nervous. They think the only brand that they represent is the one that they're working for.
Right.
And truly, if a CEO or the leader of an organization or your boss doesn't believe that a better you, a bigger you, a better brand is better for the organization, then I think they're very misguided. And so I think it's important for people to figure out a way, not to follow a curve, but to try to set one for yourself, right? Chart your own course. Number two, don't wait for people to take notice of your skill sets and the great things you can bring to the table. Find a way to make people take notice by doing things that add incredible value to whatever it is you're doing. And number three, and this is my big thing that I talk about all the time, you'll get sick of this if we're doing a workshop together, but when you have that opportunity to get tapped on the shoulder and stand in front of a group or present on a stage or do a web chat, whatever it might be, where you're kind of the host, you've got to find a way to stand out when you stand up, because there's a lot of people that talk and very few actually have something to say or a memorable message that you'll walk out the door with and you'll say, yes, I remember that he, she were the speaker. And this is what they told me, because your brand is what carries forth beyond those moments when you're in a room. It's what other people say about you, what they'll tell others about you, what they think about you, all that stuff. So anyway, that's my short little speech for the day. So I'll wrap with this. This is big news for me. I'm super excited. Your guys' pictures are better than mine, and your skill sets are great, and away we go. So Jill, thanks for being here. Now you get to see what Mike and I have been doing for the last number of Thursdays, and hopefully you'll join us many more times for this.
I'd love it.
This is what we talked about last time, okay? We put the topic there, and Jill, you'll notice on the elevating you, see, we got the little mountains in the background, so everything with that, you'll figure that out. Last time our topic was hey, Mike, Jill's going to get right back into her line of, God, now I remember sitting next to this guy when we were doing the new news updates and what it was like, okay? So finding your voice, building reputation through your message, that was our topic last week. And so what we always do is we take that one question that somebody fires at us, and we'll tell you how you can do that in just a minute, but it involves Facebook. You can send it there. There's another way as well. Sonia from Texas said this: how will I know that my reputation is going in a positive way? So based upon this topic, finding your voice, building reputation through your message, how will I know that my reputation is growing in a positive way? That's an interesting question. I mean, like we talked a lot about the topic, and we didn't necessarily say how you're going to get the feedback. So Mike, I'm going to let you go with this and let it rip.
And I think it's a great question, because it's always about, you're trying to measure, you're trying to figure out, am I getting better? Am I getting closer? Where am I going with this? And that also means that you're thinking about reputation in an intentional way, which is so important, as I was saying before. I would offer this encouragement and perspective that reputations are either going to build gravity or they're going to create a deflection. And in our lives, if you start seeing more gravity in your life, and that could be opportunities coming your way that you didn't see coming. It could be people seeking you out for advice or insight or perspective. It could be someone at work, a boss or a colleague, saying, hey, we'd like you to come work on this project because we've seen this in you. Those are all good indicators that you're building the gravity that you want through your reputation. So I would look at it that way. Are opportunities coming your way? Are people seeking you out? Are you being asked to join things and be a part of programs and events that you hadn't really expected, but people are looking for you to be involved in.
Jill, you got some thoughts on that question? Again, the question, how will I know that my reputation is growing in a positive way? That's Sonia from Texas.
Well, I think just to what Mike was saying, when people suddenly start to trust you by coming and asking you questions, for looking for your feedback on things, I think that that's a sign that you're headed in the right direction. For me, all of these things all go back to authenticity, right? Like that's so much a part of what's going to help build that reputation in a positive way, because you're being very true to who you are and you're willing to share all of what you know with others. So again, just that idea of, how do you know you're in the right direction? You're in the right direction if suddenly you feel like you have a few people that are following. Right?
Yeah.
You have people that are willing to come over and say, hey, I really like what you did on that project. It might be a compliment, to your point, Mike, but I really do think that when people feel comfortable and trust somebody in what they've done and how they've executed things, that's your gold, right? That's your superpower, because then you are doing right things and you should continue to do more.
I don't do social media to be known. All right. That's not why I go on there. That's not what I do. I go on social media to be knowable, to find a reason for people to go, yeah, he's worthy of a follow. He's providing me something that I can use, that I can consume, that I can use, that gives me some actionable, takeaways that I can put into my own professional life or personal life, etc. We do this exercise. I say I in my 8-hour workshop, the Elevate workshop, the original, there's a session that I really love. It happens in the afternoon, and it is all about branding, and they'll get into small groups of 3. And there's a reason for that too, but they get into groups of 3, and then they will all write down, without anybody else seeing what they write down what they believe to be their 3 greatest strengths, or what they would be known for within the organization. Okay. And so then once they're done writing those down, here you go, Sonia. What then happens is, they then talk to the people in the group, and without sharing what they've written down about themselves, they say, okay, let's pretend it's the 3 of us, right? I've written down my things, and I say, all right, Mike, tell me what you believe I stand for. Tell me what you believe that I am known for within this organization, what my greatest skill sets are. And then he says it. And then, Jill, you tell me what I'm known for and what I stand for. And if you see any correlation, any link between the things that like Mike said about me that I wrote down, or what Jill said, and I had already written those down, that's what I'm known for. That becomes your brand. It is what other people say. And you'll start to go, wow. I mean, you guys probably know what that Strengths Finder book is, and it helps you kind of figure out all the different things that are good and apply to you. And that's a great exercise. But this, to me, really helps shape where you are. And I was also always told once, every year when you go in for your review, ask your boss, why did you hire me? Now, I know from the beginning but every year ask the same question, because you will always circle back to what your greatest strengths are and why they brought you in the first place, and what they believe that you can add. So that was our question from last week. Always appreciate that, and great to have those questions coming our way, Sonia in Texas, and there will be opportunities as well to ask questions today. Are we ready to move on to today's topic?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right, here's today's topic, and it is what your resume says. What your resume actually says. Building a recession-proof portfolio. And in fact, in this time that we're all dealing with right now, in this pandemic, where people are being laid off, they're without a job. Now the economy's coming back just a little bit, but man, if we go through a second wave that's really bad, we don't know where this thing's going to go. We just don't. So the question becomes, you're really trying to build a resume and a portfolio of skills that will make you recruitable even in times like this. So Mike, I'm going to start with you on this. Give me your thoughts on the importance of resume. Right? We've all had to do that at a certain point, and we sit there and we try to figure out what we're going to write down, how we can put in the right words and all of that stuff. What's your take on this topic?
It's vital, but we also have to recognize that it is evolving. It is evolving. That we can't. My opinion is we can't rely solely on the resume, especially in today's socially connected world. So I would say from where I've been looking at this, and it's ironic because this actually hit very close to home. Early in March, my wife had left the previous job to start another job later in March, and in that window when COVID hit, the job she was going to instituted a hiring freeze, and the job she was going to go back to said, "Sorry, we're not hiring anybody anymore." So she was caught in between, and we really had to take a look at that from a very personal level. And we came back to two things: that the resume as a traditional setup is not, in my opinion, relevant anymore. The data points: managed, led, directed, optimized. Tell us a story. Data points are important. I understand that, but we're wired for stories, right? I mean, think about the things that we buy. A recruiter, someone in a hiring position is looking to buy something. And typically we buy things that we're interested in, things that are intriguing, things that have a story to them. So I would encourage people to look at that resume from the standpoint of what's the story. Pick out the places, in these jobs and tell a story. Tight, bright. Where is the impact? What was done? What was the challenge? Now, that's the one side. The other piece of it, leading back to social media, and we can look at the statistics. I think the most recent one is around, 90% of recruiters are looking at people on LinkedIn. Well, hey, we have a real-time resume right at our disposal. So what are you doing in the real time in your day-to-day to be building that resume through your LinkedIn activity, through the stories you're telling there, how you're bringing your brand to life, the work you're doing to life in ways that are credible, authentic, and relevant to the people that you're trying to interest in the work that you're trying to get to.
Yeah. Jill, what's your take on that, on the resume? You were on QVC for 25 years, and ultimately people aren't buying the product. They're buying you first, right? Building trust from you, then they're buying the product. That's how sales works, in my opinion anyway. So your resume can't just be about the billions or millions of dollars you sold in months, years, et cetera. It has to be something else. What is it about your resume that's important for people out there?
Well, I think, at the heart of it, and Mike touched on it as well, it's being a storyteller, and you have to be able to tell your story very well. And, one of the things that sort of I always implemented in my presentations, and even when I've done public speaking and the media coaching that I do with people, what I always challenge them to think about is when you make a statement, follow it up with, so what? I did billions of dollars in sales in QVC. So what? So as a result of that, what happened, right? Yeah. This product has this feature. So what? The so what is it's going to make you more comfortable. It's going to make your life easier. You're going to get, you're going to finish doing the dishes more quickly, whatever it is. So I think you always have to go down that next level. And it's not always easy for people. It's easy to be a mile wide and an inch deep, right? Mm-hmm. It's going beyond that. And figuring out what's really at the core of what I did. So you did this, great, but what was the impact? If that was the impact, then what was the next thing beyond that? So it's always asking that question, like that little voice inside your head. And I still do it, every day almost in things. Like I'll type something up and be like, so what? And then I've got to go and do a little bit more with it. So I think for resumes, I think that's really important. I'm curious, you guys, like what you think about in this day and age where everything is all digital, right? Mm-hmm. We text more than we call. We send by email more than we call. Is the phone call still important in this day and age when people are trying to find employment, connect? How important do you think that phone call is? Is it something people should be going back to, or is that something that can help set them apart?
I definitely think that. I spoke when I was making my pivot into doing this with a career coach, actually two of them, and they really emphasized the importance of LinkedIn as this amazing tool, and I reworked that and spent a lot of time on my LinkedIn profile to kind of share my story. But they told me that phone calls are huge, but you have to use them in the right way. So oftentimes people end up talking to people about what they can do for them. In other words, hey, Mike Mooney, I want you to hire me, and what can you do for me? What am I going to get out of this? And it's really
what's the starting salary?
Right? Yeah, it is the opposite of that. It's let me share what I can do for you. And the other part, so they always said, use the phone calls as a form of a questionnaire, as a form of gathering information, as a form of a research project. Ask a lot of questions, have a conversation, and then weave in your story within that. Now, I've got 2 kids who graduated from Mizzou. I brainwashed them to go there. And and I interviewed, hired multiple people in my time at the LPGA as head of communications. And when they came in, look, we started with 250 resumes that we weeded through, more than 250 on some occasions. And I would involve my team in that. I'd say, hey, guess what, guys? I want you to knock it down to 40 for me. I want you to be a part of this process. No. And I don't want you to look at these resumes for things on a piece of paper. I want you to look at them from a, what value will they bring to us that we don't currently have? How can they make our team better? And then we would get it down to the certain number of 10. And then I would have, whether it was a Skype, it was usually Skype at the time. And then ultimately I'd bring in 3 or 4. But I don't care about the piece of paper. Mm-hmm. We've all got a piece of paper. I have a degree. You have a degree. We all have degrees. So what? To your point, Jill, so what? Now tell me what you're all about. Why you? Don't tell me you're a people person, because that's so generic. Don't tell me you give 110%. That's so generic. I need to know what you've done and the impact you've made. And when you had a misstep, how did you solve it? What did you learn from it? And what will you bring to the table? Those are the most important things to me. By the way, Jill, so funny that you said, so what? So in all the media coaching that I've done, which has been with a lot of athletes and executives as well, but when I was at LPGA and we talked to the players about getting their story out, right? Nobody cares about the 6-foot putt you made on the 15th hole. Frankly, they don't care you shot 66. You have your name on your bag. You're a professional. They get that. Now, why should they care about you? And so I would tell them when they were sitting in there that you have to say 3 things to yourself that the audience is blaming. They're sitting out there saying, so what? Who cares? What's in this for me?
Right.
And if you can continue to go along those lines, you're on the path. All right, Mike, your turn on this.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm going to pivot a little bit because I think that the what you were saying, Kraig, is spot on about using that phone call as a way to gather information and have that checklist there to be able to showcase the value. I'm going to pivot on that and say that it depends on who you're calling, right? How are you using the phone call? But who is it that you're calling? So what I mean by that is there's a difference between, and I'm going to just use the cell phone as the example of a recruiter. If you happen to get their phone number or, the extension of them going, putting it down, or, I'm going to take the call. And what I mean by who you call is tapping into your network. Using the people in your network to help you get the connection that you're looking for. That's, I think, an area that folks are oftentimes reluctant to tap into because we feel like, oh gosh, everyone's so busy. I don't want to impose if someone knows this person, can you make an introduction? Can you help me out? I truly believe that besides the skills, it's the relationships that help people get the work and get the jobs and open the doors and get them to that place where they dream of and where they want to be. I think we can all look at back in our careers of times when it was a relationship that got us to the goal line in an opportunity. So again, I would just go back to, yes, have great questions if you do connect with that hiring manager, but I would really think about the who in your network that can help you get to that next level.
Yeah, Jill, I had this one person that I hired. I'm going to throw her name out here because she was my first hire. Her name was Megan Flanagan, and she was absolutely awesome, was a Rutgers graduate and came in there. And she didn't give me, she was in the final 3 for a position. I ultimately hired her. She didn't give me a resume. She brought in an entire portfolio, bound and everything, with articles that she'd written, pictures that she had, stories that she told, and all the difference-making things that she'd done to that point, which I thought was so impressive. It was different than anybody else that came and sat in my office at the time. And I'll share one other thing too, and I'll give it away. Whether you guys know him or not, Darren Ravel is a sports business reporter, huge following, 2 million followers. He's been on CNBC, he's been on ESPN twice, and he told the story of being a college student. And a recruiter from ESPN came. It was like he was looking for people at Northwestern in the journalism school that could be great copywriters and writers, in their content division of putting stuff out there on ESPN.com. And he was doing 30-minute interviews. And Darren said, I only need 5. I need 5. I want to borrow you for 5 minutes. If I waste your time, I'll give you the time back and do something else. He walked in there and he didn't have a resume at all. What he'd done is he'd invested over $1,000 on printing off. He turned his career to that point in college, all the things he'd done on the radio station and the articles into a media guide. Into a media guide with pictures and storytelling and all of these different things. And he told them, and I'm giving away some of the interview that I did with them, but he said, you want to know something? You guys are the worldwide leader in sports. If you're going to be the worldwide leader in sports, then you need to be the worldwide leader in sports business. And I'm your guy. And he told the story in 5 minutes, why he needed to be there. And 10 days after graduation, he was in Bristol working for ESPN. Okay. So my point in sharing that is a lot of people want bigger opportunities, as I've put here. But what have you done with the ones you've had? Right? Like your resume is about times spent, periods of time that we've worked. But what did you do there? Jill, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think about both of those stories that you just shared. And I think if I was the person hiring, like what would that effort say to me about that person? They're an innovator. They're creative. They know how to stand out. They're going to be hardworking. They're willing to put the time in. So it's not just about the book that you're handing somebody, but it's what it says about you because you were willing to do the work to make the book. Right. Yeah. So I think that, as people are thinking about how they want to stand out, I'm not saying everybody should go out and put together this kind of portfolio. It's got to be right for whatever you're applying for. But really, those are the things you should be thinking about as you're telling your story in your resume. And what are the things that you're telling that person, really telling them about you, right? Not just what's on paper, but because of what they're reading on paper, what else are they going to learn about you?
So, Mike, let's take the other part of this question before we move out of here today, and that was the recession-proof resume, right? So how do we build something, which I'm not talking about building the piece of paper. I'm looking at this as in building your career, because to me, our careers are defined by the building blocks of the time periods and what we did there. Like if you want to be relevant within your industry, that's great. In those times that you spent from 92 to 95 and 2001 to 2005, did you do relevant things? Right? If you want to be relevant, then you got to invest your time on doing things that are relevant, not just punching a clock, so to speak, or going into work. So how do we build our career resume so that in times like today, because I think this is what a lot of people are asking, and Jill, I'm going to come at you with this as well. How do we keep that in mind to make sure we're always recruitable? Even when somebody has a freeze, I'm the first person they think of when the freeze is lifted. I'm the person that doesn't get kicked off the boat as it's sinking for my company. They got to retain me. How do we do that?
I would say, and thank you for stringing that out, because I'm trying to get my thoughts together on the answer, because there's a lot to it. There is something that we would do on the sports marketing side of motorsports whenever we look at a marketing program. And this is what I try to tell folks when I'm doing programs around reputation or brand, which is you want to create what's called surround sound. When you think about your traditional advertising or marketing campaign, right? People saying you got to be in radio, you need to be online, you need to be on TV, you need to be digital. So you think about the surround sound approach. Take that approach for your own brand. Yes, on the resume. Package up your stories. Look at the impact. Don't focus on titles or tenure. It's about impact and the stories and the results and solutions that you're able to create and provide. But start looking at ways that you're creating surround sound in your own life through these other social channels, right? What we're looking for the people want to see the continuity. They want to see and hear similar messages. There was a cartoon that I saw recently, and it just cracked me up. And it was a picture, the typical hiring manager behind a desk, and person interviewing on the other side, and there's the recruiter with the paper looking at the resume, and it says, well, according to LinkedIn, you are detail oriented and generate results. but according to Facebook, you're very comfortable with your body and you like Jack Daniels. And I love that. I love that illustration because it also talks about the continuity of what people are going to see, because recruiters are looking across the board. So you don't want to look like a mosaic and little pieces. You want it to be clear and have a consistency in there as well.
Well,
what do
that's
your last 10
authenticity.
posts say about you? Look at them. Do they have any consistencies? Go look at that. Yeah. Would you want your grandmother to be looking at this? All right. I'm bringing you into my organization to represent my brand. All right, Jill, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, doesn't that all go back to authenticity too, right? You know, what you're presenting on that LinkedIn, that story should be the same story that's told on the other social media platforms. And people don't always think about that, you know? I mean, you've seen those memes out there with, you know, what your profile picture is on LinkedIn, what it is on Facebook, and what it is on, you know, Twitter or whatever. So, so I think that consistency is really important. And I think, you know, if this kind of is going back a little bit, but to me, the biggest guide in either what you're choosing to pursue, how you're presenting your brand, who you want to be, how you want to be known, it all has to come from that place of service. You know, what are you doing to help somebody else? And, you know, that was huge for me at QVC. It was not my job to like it. Whatever product I was selling, I wasn't paid to like it. I was paid to research the product, know everything that I could about it, give the pros and the cons, which I think is one of the things I was known for, because I think I did an anti-sell with products a lot, because I didn't ever want anybody to get something at home and be like, that Jill Bauer steered me wrong. Not on my watch. No, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the product, and then you decide if it's right for you. So that place of service and really, you know, narrowing down what I can do for you, I think is key. And again, ties into the buzzword of authenticity that we're hearing so much across all the platforms.
Yeah, the beauty of authenticity is that one of you guys has the dogs, and that's
sorry, guys.
That's the great thing, you know. It's about Mike's reputation, and it's his reputation is that his house is filled with kids and dogs, right?
And that's a beautiful thing.
I'm texting my wife right now.
The phone. He's texting his kids right now. Would you let the dogs out, please?
Please, for the love of all that's good and holy, get them out. Get them out right now.
All right. So I want to move along because of the sake of time today, and I'm going to give us the topic for next week, and hopefully everybody has figured out that they can either email with the questions to info@cannadvisory.com, info@cannadvisory.com, or you can fire them at the Facebook pages of any of us. That's easy to do, the Kann Advisory Facebook page, and we'll talk about these next week. Who knows? Maybe it's just Mike and I, or maybe Jill will, you know, join us again. Okay, so next time the topic is this: finding meaning in your job. Now, a lot of people do feel lost, and they do feel stuck, and they don't know what their purpose is, and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing there. And we're going to talk about personal passion and how that marries with influencing other people. Because to me, if you're not happy in your job, you're not going to do a very good job of influencing others. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're supposed to do, is try to, you know, take the collective group and add value, make it better by what we bring. So next time we're talking about finding meaning in your job, personal passion, and influencing others. All right.
Great.
I started today by introducing Jill and bringing Mike in for a little conversation about what we're going to do with Kann Advisory. And now I'm putting this in front of everybody because this is what we're going to do. So let me give a little bit of background. So when I started Kann Advisory Group, I was traveling around doing workshops, and it's morphed into the Elevate workshop. That's what it's called. Elevating people. People say, what's your brand? What do you do? And I say, I'm an elevator. Now, people laugh at that when I first say it, and they go, what do you mean? You know, so what? Who cares? What is what? And all that. All right. I elevate people to become better. I elevate brands to become bigger. And I elevate events to become grander. If you bring me in, or you bring my team in, that is what I do. That is what we do. That is my mission. That is my promise. I'm going to take you over 8 hours, and I'm going to make you think differently. I'm going to make your head spin. I'm going to give you a lot of different stuff about presentation skills, about branding, about social media use. But I'm going to coach you to be a storyteller of your brand that you work for, but weaving in your personal story, because remember, we buy people first and then we buy brands. And people will have to get up in front of the room. They love that, by the way. And they will learn the company's story, how to deliver it dynamically, effectively, and make a human connection, which is the most important thing. So the Elevate workshop is mind altering, it is eye opening, and it is fast moving. Those things happen in a day. I love it. I have a great time watching people, and I've seen the results. So that's what the Elevate workshop is: communication, presentation, branding, but most importantly, bonding. And we get groups together: Accenture, Transamerica, KPMG. I've worked with a lot of really fun companies, and I'm going to grow this. And we want to take it out. And that's why strength in numbers. We've got people that are superstars in their own way. And Mike speaks on branding, and Jill speaks on sales and marketing, and Mike's a marketing guy. We're going to help companies help their people. And so my workshop that I've been doing is a full day. And what we're going to start off with is some half-day opportunities that would be Jill and I and Mike and I. But there also can be a workshop of the three of us. And that's what we're working toward. But we live in this day of webinars, and we live in this day of face on. Hey, I'm not going to be on. I was talking to an executive at Accenture yesterday. They're not allowed, I think I can share this, they're not allowed to travel face-to-face with their customers until March. Wow. So everything is going to be via Zoom. How do you use this little camera right here to make that connection? You know, people say, you know what, Kraig? I'm really good one-on-one. I'm really good one. Really? I just saw you stand up, okay? I saw you do your presentation. We got a little work to do. So we got to make them own this as well. And I want us, and now I'm going to let you guys jump in on this. I want us to not just have people, you know, do webinars or Zooms because they have to. I want them to make it an advantage for them and for their organization. Use it to the best. So 90-minute webinars, full and half-day workshops, they'll all be under the Elevate series, and we're going to come up with some really cool stuff. So Mike, I'll let you go first on this one. Your thoughts on this whole thing?
Ditto. No, I couldn't agree more, Kraig. I mean, the idea here is for us to help people dig into the opportunities, to dig into themselves, be reflective, and really sharpen that saw to get to that next level. But in a way that is real. And Jill has used this word that I love as well, authentically. You know, for me, it's about being intentional and authentic, and that's where the magic happens. But it often takes people from the outside to help folks get there. There's a saying I love. It's called, it's tough to read the label when you're inside the jar. And I think we're the ones that are outside the jar helping people read the label, but more importantly, see what truly is there around them to help take them to that next level. So that's why I'm excited about doing this with a team of people and experts that are passionate about it, that have great stories themselves, but truly have the right intent, which is nothing more than trying to just drive people forward and help light them up.
Jill?
Well, I think the one thing about so many of us working from home is we all think that it's like, I can work from home in my pajamas or whatever, and I think the key is, to really make that impact and continue to make that impact with your team. Whether you're starting new projects, where you're trying to connect with your customers, you still have to show up. And you still have to show up in a way where you're exuding that confidence, that you are engaging. And it's not, Kraig, as you and I know, because we've worked on television for such a long time, like, it's not as easy as it looks. We make it look easy because we've done it for such a long time, right? But there is a lot to be learned about the way you present things through this, little camera on your computer, and how you can still use those charismatic qualities that you need to refine or polish, or you already have but need to translate them through this new normal of how we're conducting business. So I look at this team and I think, wow, like if I was not in this group and I was looking to up my game, what a great team of people and great experiences, whether it's the on-camera side, it's the business side, it's the marketing side, to bring all of those things together so that you can be your best. Yeah,
there's, obviously Mike does workshops, I do workshops. Jill's going to be in front of a lot of different people as well. And I think the important thing is, look, there's a lot of workshops out there. There's a lot of career development days. And my answer to people like that, when they say, why you? I say, mine's not just a career development day. I don't give a keynote either. I don't come in and give a talk. People think, oh, you're busy on the 13th of March? No, I just don't give talks. I give experiences. That's what I do. I go in there with a purpose to connect with people, to make them, I think, outcome first. I want them walking out the door. All right. How am I going to get the standing ovation? Not for me and what I said, but for the feeling that I can give them that's going to take them out and move forward to do something special with the rest of their day, the rest of their week, the rest of their month, something they can put into motion right away. Not some wish versus want scenario. I wish I could do better. No, I want to give you something that's going to actually help you do that. So this Elevate workshop series is going to be designed with their help, the two people you're looking at right there, for us to create things that are going to be different, and they're going to be special, and they're going to be unique, and they're going to be mind altering, as I say, empowering, inspiring, but they're going to change people, and they're going to change mindset. So you see the little green shoe there. I know Mike kind of knows my green shoe thing, and I'll tell you that briefly, Jill, but the green shoe has evolved, and it is how to stand out. And I have a slide that I show that's got a pair, like 5 pairs of shoes. They're all white. And then there's the green shoe. We have to find ways. And this goes back to the resume conversation, that we had. You got to find a way to separate yourself from the field. You got to have that competitive edge that Mike talks about, sharpening your saw and making sure that you're the one that people think about when they are looking to tap someone on the shoulder for a stretch opportunity, a bigger challenge, whatever it might be. You want to be that one that's got the green shoes, that has an authentic, to use Jill's term, way of standing out and getting noticed. So somebody gets a green shoe at all my workshops. That's what I do. I hand that out at the end of the day. Somebody gets. You might be able to get one of those.
Mine must be in the mail somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So the green shoes, I've got a lot of pairs of green shoes that have not been used during the pandemic.
I was going to say, those aren't worn or anything, right? You're not giving
they're
away
not worn.
like,
no,
okay.
no.
I just want to make sure,
I actually had a company give me a purple shoe because that was their color. They knew about the green shoe. And at the end of the day, they presented me with a purple shoe, which I thought was very cool. So all good. Cool. All right. That's it. An opportunity before we go, very briefly, if you want to learn more about us, Kann Advisory Group is the website you can go to for me. I've shared enough about me. MikeMooney.com. I'll let you go. And then, Jill, I want you to talk about your brand and where they can hear more from you, see you, et cetera. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, if you want to check out more about what I'm working on, you can go to MikeMooney.com. Check out work I'm doing there in coaching, but also my book, Reputation Shift, is there. That's your road guide to building a opportunity driving reputation in today's world. So check that out there as well. You can order it there on Amazon. I'll autograph it and sign it out for all of you. But
still waiting for my copy, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, maybe now I can send it. I was holding out maybe for this opportunity.
Like I've been in pit road for a long time. I haven't been out on the track.
You've been red flagged, my friend.
Yes,
You've been red flagged.
I have. Yeah. Jill, share with everybody, about your website and the Just Jill Creative.
Yeah. So, really, justjill.com is my website blog. And we're going to be adding to that with, information about how to contact me through Kann Advisory, et cetera. So just stay tuned. That's in the works. But people can, follow me. Like I have a little different spin than Mike and Kraig. So you go to them when you need those extra, boosts of influence for things. You come to me when you need a good recipe or you need to know how to clean your house. So you can find Jill Bauer on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. And again, justjill.com will sort of evolve into a section where I'll have all of my information about Kann Advisory.
I will let you know, Jill. I actually mopped my floors last night. Okay. So there you go. And I'm getting ready for a big move, which means I have to organize my closets. Do you help people with that too?
I just had a segment on the Today Show yesterday about that.
You know why I just said that? So you could plug your segment on the Today Show. Okay. I saw it. Hey,
soon I'm doing one on appliance cleaning. It's riveting.
Ooh.
See, I mean, those are all the fun things. The bottom line is that I've aligned myself with two people that I think are absolute rock stars in the world of marketing, in the world of sales, and being able to connect with people. And I think that's the most important thing that we're going to try to do. As you know, if you've been following Mike and I on this platform for the last couple of months, we call it Elevating You, Reaching Your Peak. And we try to have, as I said, brand being the operative word, brand new, inspiring career conversations. And hopefully some of the information that we've shared today can help you. It's been a pleasure. I want to say thanks to both of you. Mike, you and I do this all the time. Great fun. And I know we'll be back next week. Jill, thanks. I'll give you the final shot, whatever you want to say, but I really appreciate you being a part of it today.
Oh, well, I was thrilled to be here, Kraig, and to, get to hang out with Mike for a while too. This is, a really exciting opportunity. I love being with like-minded people who really want to help other people, just make that small shift. It's when you look at the difference between a record and then a world record, right? There's usually like 1/16 of a second. It's like this small little bit, but we're all capable of that, and really excited to partner with you guys to inspire other people so that they can be their best, whether it's personally, in business, or just in life. So thanks for having me aboard. I love the journey already.
Well, thank you both. And to everybody out there, fire up your questions. We'll take them. Anything there that you have on your mind, info@cannadvisory.com, info@cannadvisory.com, or you can send it to the Facebook page, Kann Advisory Facebook, or you can send it straight to Jill and Mike, and we'll get those questions. We'll talk about it next week. Thanks so much to both of you, and thanks to everyone out there for being a part of it. We will see you next Thursday. Have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.